You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. What is subtle energy? Really? It is not tangible or able to be measured. Today, we'll talk about how you can understand subtle energy and be able to work with it in ways that may seem magical or, well, even crazy, but we know they work. And that it should be a normal part of life. Sound interesting? Stay tuned. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. I'll get it together in a minute. Okay, Jason. You know what? This is really big, this subtle energy thing. But are you trying to define subtle energy, or well, what are you trying to do here?
I can't prove it and even really define subtle energy or in any sort of specific way.
Okay.
But this is what I can do.
All right.
Okay. Without an exact definition, we can see and know that all human beings have an innate ability to see and perceive subtle energy.
Okay.
And we have developed our own ability naturally as a result of by working with this energy.
Right.
And without exact definition for a long, long time.
Okay.
We know everybody has the ability to perceive subtle energy, and it's been discredited and trained out of most humans.
Correct.
And I was just seeing an article. This is in the National Institute of Health. This is a government agency. And let me see if I can read an excerpt that evidence for the existence of a biofield, which is a form of subtle energy, now exists, and current theoretical foundations are now being developed. In other words, what we've been talking about on the show all along is not only about this biofield, but it extends into much greater. And we see it because we can perceive it.
Right.
And if you're listening right now, you can too. And we're going to talk to you about how it's been trained out of you.
Right.
But there was some other part of here. Let's see here. That biology, which is the basis for traditional medicine, despite its great successes, that it's achieved the multitude of applications in theory as well as practice. It has not undergone the types of revolution that shook physics 100 years ago. In other words, the ideas about how physics works has been changing over the last 100 years.
Right.
They call it quantum physics if you're interested. Okay.
Right.
If you want to geek out with me, but what they're saying is that the basis for biology, which is what traditional medicine is based on,
correct,
is hasn't been updated. But even though they know the basis for reality is different than what biology is based on.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
A great practical example. We were at the doctor the other day, and he was looking at your Meniere's disease, which is a form of vertigo, which is very mild for you right now.
Right.
But you told him that you would go to the chiropractor, and it would made a huge difference. And he said something that I thought was very insightful, actually.
It really was. And I was surprised he admitted it.
Yes.
Let me say it that way.
He said, I have no way to understand that. In other words, his definition that he's been trained in as an MD doesn't include the way chiropractic works.
Yes.
And so therefore he can't understand it.
Right.
And by the way, we've said that a lot, that a lot of traditional science education can dumb you down. You know, she doesn't like, I get bold really when I start talking about this.
Yes, he
But
does.
so it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's very simple.
Okay.
This is like applied science. You may not understand the all the specifics of electricity, for
Right.
example.
Right. I don't.
You know, but we know how to work with this subtle energy, and we've been doing it for over 20 years now together,
Right.
full time, with hundreds and thousands of different clients.
Right.
We see that it works. It's so obvious. It's so it's, you know.
Well, and one of the things that, and I'm just going to jump in and say, one of the things that you and I saw immediately about each other was, well, after I called him a bad name, but we saw that the other one understood the subtle energies,
Yes.
the intangibles.
Yes.
We saw that about each other, and we were both in awe that we could see it that fast.
Well, and going back to the doctor,
yes.
he wouldn't have any idea, way of understanding how that works.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and he admitted it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we know it works because we see the results.
Right.
We go in, we work with the energy, we see a result. We work with the energy, we see the result for over 20 years now. It's not coincidence. It's not random.
No.
But here's the thing, okay? The reason subtle energy has been discredited, and the way it's because of the way people are successful in our culture right now.
Okay.
What happens is you program yourself, which is a form of force, you know, saying, do it this way, following these formulas and protocols and things like that. And so what happens is there are a lot of people that have programmed themselves, forced themselves to act in a certain way.
Yes.
And they become successful, usually with money, power, prestige, those three things. Okay. Truly, that's not, success is way more than just those three things.
Correct.
But in our culture, we're really simple. And it's because we don't have this bigger perspective.
Correct.
We think that's success. And so when a person like that gets to the pinnacle of success, they look back and say, well, if you just do it the way I did it,
then you'll be fine.
Then you'll be fine. Then you can have the success that I did.
Correct.
Okay. The problem is that he doesn't understand, he or she doesn't understand that they may be unfulfilled. They may have a string of failed marriages.
And relationships. And also there's so many things that quote, their success didn't actually give them.
Yes.
They lost so many things in that process.
Yes.
Of programming for success.
But they're numb to it because they don't have the consciousness that you would get by understanding subtle energies.
That is correct.
You know, so we call this cognitive blindness. We don't call it. This is a scientific term.
It's been called.
Yes. Cognitive blindness is a result of inadequate intellectual capacity for understanding something that is a result of emotional, cultural, and cognitive biases. So that, I'm sure, you know, that doctor, he's a nice guy. I like him and I appreciate his honesty. You know, he thinks he's pretty smart though. He's an MD. You know, you have to go through all these years of school and you have to memorize all these facts. He's got to think, I'm pretty smart. You know, whether it's quiet confidence or a bold confidence, that sort of thing. But so if he doesn't understand subtle energies, most people like that, and we've seen it over and over again. They say, well, if I can't understand it, then it must not exist.
Or it's not true.
It's not true.
Right.
So, and that's where the cognitive biases happen.
Correct.
That's where the emotional and cultural biases happen. Right. Here's the last thing. Okay. Our ability to perceive and work with subtle energy is limited based on the buildup of negative energy. That's not very commonly known, even in the people that understand energy and subtle energies and that sort of thing. They don't understand this buildup. Now, we've talked about it in an article on our website, the 80%. We've talked about that many, many times. And many reject this consciousness or the idea of subtle energy because they're numb to it. And they don't see the buildup of this negative energy. And that's why.
Okay.
So
Well, and that's happened. That buildup of negative energy that they don't see it has to do with the programming.
yes,
Correct.
it has to do with the programming
Okay.
and trauma in
Yes.
childhood.
Right. Your story, so
Yeah,
to speak.
story, even
Okay.
from past lifetimes, 2 or 3 past lifetimes back, that
Mhm.
stuff builds up and builds
Yes.
up because we're
Yes.
not removing it.
Right.
And the ecosystem approach is all about removing it,
Right.
which
And
is why we're talking today, and we're going to talk some more about this in the next segment.
exactly. Okay, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Everyone has the ability to perceive subtle energy, but it's been trained out of us collectively. The ability to work with and perceive subtle energy is limited due to the buildup of negative energy.
Mhm.
Cognitive blindness is the reason we don't perceive subtle energy. Emotional, cultural, and cognitive biases, all those
Okay.
things come together.
Okay.
And the ecosystem approach helps you restore your ability to perceive that subtle energy with significant empowerment. And we're going to talk about that for the rest of the day. Please stay tuned. This is big.
All right. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how subtle energies have real usefulness working with intangibles and, emotions. It's almost like what? Magic. I love that. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how subtle energies have real usefulness working with intangibles and emotions. It almost feels like magic. I love that. We are married intuitives with over 20 years' experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, how do subtle energies have real usefulness, especially working with emotions and intangibles?
Most of the problems you have, most of the struggles you have, aren't because of something rational. It's because of emotions and intangibles. And we're going to talk about what intangibles are in just a minute.
Okay.
But it's the things that you can't put your finger on
Mhm.
that are causing you problems. Whether the person in the next cubicle over doesn't like you,
Okay.
or you don't like them, or
both.
or you feel
Sure.
guilt and shame all the time, you're angry all the time.
Mhm.
It's those negative emotions and those intangibles that cause all the problems. So we see emotions and intangibles as energies.
Yes.
And we know this is true because when we work with them,
Mhm.
they're affected. You clear energy, you clear anger enough, and pretty soon it starts to reduce, it starts to go down.
Yes.
We see them as energies, and we see how these energies come and go.
Yeah.
And it's far more. This is a radical thought. So here we go.
Okay.
Today, if you say, I want to be more successful,
Okay.
some sort of self-help guru will say you have to do this, 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 and this. Give you a formula.
I was going to say a formula.
Yes.
Okay.
So the idea is that if you do those things, then you'll be successful. Well, let's say you do those things and you are successful.
Okay.
It may not feel the way you expect it to feel, first of all.
Okay.
Or you do those things and you're not successful, or you're not successful in the way that you expected. So they just turn around and say, well, it's not our problem.
It's
you did something wrong, blah, blah,
right.
blah.
Right.
Those ideas of strategies and techniques is programming, and it's everywhere. It's part of the way we're designed.
Yeah.
So what we do
Mhm.
is, and this is how we know these energies exist, is because we identify these energies. Okay.
Because
Anger.
That's okay. Because we can see those energies or feel those energies
Yes.
from others.
Yes.
Let's say it that way.
For us, we have, I guess you could call it a really attuned high state of emotional intelligence.
We do.
And so when someone's angry,
Mhm.
Someone will come to us, a client will come to us and say, I'm angry about this. And we'll say, well, okay, let's clear anger. But then I also see that you're jealous.
Right.
And and how am I jealous?
I love that. I love the one where I said that to a client one time, and the comment back was, "I'm not jealous, I'm envious." In other words,
It was a deflection, but yes.
it was
Yeah.
total.
But
Total. I said,
whether you
okay.
call it jealousy or
Oh, yeah.
envious, it's still an emotion and an energy, and
That's not in your best
and
interest.
we can remove it.
Yes.
Now,
exactly.
this should make a lot of traditional therapists shudder, because they've been taught that if you talk about your feelings, they go away.
Well, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but before I met you, Jason, I did a lot of therapy because the other stuff was too la or in the air, so to speak, too magical. And so I was pushed into going to therapy more than once. I wonder why. But the point that I'm getting at is that I spent a lot of money and ended up in the same spot. Nothing changed.
Well,
except I got to talk about it.
I had a similar experience. The difference was, still spent a lot of money, but the difference was I knew what the problem was. I just couldn't do anything about it.
Okay.
I was just more clear about how screwed up I was.
Okay.
And of course that's not a technical term, but what I'm talking about. So, it's we see that when you call out these energies and say, I'm going to remove this, I'm going to, for a 6, I'm a 6, removing the insecurities, the guilt and shame, that's just overwhelming. It's just over and over. For a 4, it's the emotionality and the drama. As we clear that stuff,
I don't know what you mean.
And when we clear that stuff, it starts to go away.
It's amazing.
When you start to make changes that a person like that would never happen.
And I can't resist this. Oftentimes when changes have been made for me, I'm talking about personally, the change that starts to happen is so subtle that it takes you even a while to acknowledge it.
Yes.
You don't even realize it's happening. And oftentimes it's somebody else that says, "Hey, what's going on with you? You're different than you were yesterday."
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Exactly. And that's why we used to call this, instead of the ecosystem approach, it was living lighter.
Yes.
Because people would say, we'd work with someone and say, well, how do you feel? And they say, I don't feel any different. I don't feel any different.
Except, well, maybe I might feel a little bit lighter.
Well, what is that? Here's the thing. Okay. We see it when we work with it, things happen.
Yeah.
Superstition. This is a biggie. When you expect a specific result. So if people come to us and say, I need to pay this bill, I need to pay my mortgage payment on Monday and today's Friday.
Okay.
They expect a specific result from working with energy in a specific way. That's superstition. That's rubbing a rabbit's foot and saying, I'm going to win the game because this is my lucky rabbit's foot. Okay. Or I'm going to, my marriage is going to work out because I'm going to face east and do something specific. Energy work never works that way. But what we find, and this is a great example, that and it's not exactly true, but it could be true because we've had so much experience. Someone will come to us and say, I need money. I need to make my payment on Monday. Right. So we start working with that energy. We start clearing the fears and the worries and the fears about money and their rules about money and all these things. Right. It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be 3 months. But then all of a sudden they come back to us and say, oh my gosh, you said, we were clearing for this. Usually they don't come back to us and say, yeah, we were clearing for this and now it happened. They say, oh, I just want to tell you that this happened. Yes. And we have to remind them that, remember, we were working on that, removing that negative energy. And they say, oh yeah. What we've found is we've had a lot of our clients now, we're not taking on new clients, but our clients now we've been with for a long time, years and years and years. Right. Because what happens is as we continue to remove these negative energies, right, people start to change in ways that are uncommon. Right. But a lot of times, unfortunately, it's invisible because, for example, you struggle with objectivity, being a 4, okay? Objectivity is not hard for me. So when someone comes to me and says, well, I've got more objectivity now than I did before, it doesn't sound like it's a big deal to me. And so the same thing with someone who, I struggle with having that confidence. When I have that confidence, someone next to me says, I have confidence for days. That's no big deal. What's the big deal with that? The problem is we want to apply some sort of standard to change, like a machine that doesn't work, and that gives us bad information.
Exactly.
Here's the other thing: intangibles. Oh my gosh. Let me give some examples of intangibles. Success, failure, reputation, charisma, flexibility, open-mindedness, prejudice, sexism, all those things you can't touch, you can't measure. It's hard to determine what they are exactly.
Right.
They're intangible, but they're an energy. And when you start working with them as an energy, oh my gosh, the possibilities. For example, if you're struggling with your reputation, it seems almost impossible. Now, there are people out there, the PR firms that try and help people with reputation.
Sure.
And they do things. Usually it's a form, it doesn't really change the energy.
Right.
So whatever it does, it may happen for a little bit, but it won't happen. It's not sustainable.
Correct.
Or
Constant. Yes.
But when you start to work the energies,
yes,
it starts to change. Likability is another one of those.
We've seen this.
Here's the other one that's big.
Okay.
People expect that if we work on something, that there's a cause and effect. So people call us all the time and say, oh, I was, 2 days ago at 5 p.m., this happened to me. Were you working on me then?
Oh, I had a lot of people say that to me.
And it's like, well, the expectation is that we have to be that for things to change, that has to happen exactly in that time period for it to be valid.
Right.
But the truth is, we do this work, and people change a week from that time we do the work.
Right.
A month.
Right.
6 months, years. It keeps going and going and going. So it's never direct. Removing negative energy is never direct, and people expect results immediately, like a machine.
Correct.
You put in a program, you get a result. The machine changes.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Jason, are we doing key points?
Let's do key points.
Right. Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
And I realize I've been talking a lot. It's just we're trying to get through this material, and there's a lot of it, but it's really important. And normally we would give you more examples, but we have lots of them, and we just don't have time for them. I just apologize for that.
So Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
It's far more effective to work with energies directly versus using strategies and techniques which are indirect methods for changing energies.
Correct.
We know that subtle energies exist because we ID them, and then we see the results from removing them.
Okay.
Timing and removing negative energy is never a direct cause and effect. It's not what we're trained to expect. Right. So it often becomes invisible. Okay. And the ecosystem approach is designed to teach you to work with energies of emotions and intangibles for practical uses in your everyday life.
And I want to I'm going to add that one of the reasons that we saw the need for the ecosystem approach is because we saw that other practices were not practical. And the one thing that Jason and I agree on, hands down, is the practicality. Thank you. I knew that wasn't right. The practicality of everyday life, because we all live everyday life. And it is so important that we understand that the ecosystem approach is practical.
A lot of people take this information and they go to some sort of airy-fairy place. We say if it has to help you with your daily life, with your money, with your relationships, with your health.
Because that's where you are.
Exactly.
You might want to be in the airy-fairy, which I can understand that. But the bottom line is that when your practical life is working for you in a very positive way, and especially using the ecosystem approach, it's awesome. Yeah. So with that said, in the next segment, we're going to talk about your journey into yourself and the power and unlimited potential that can be unleashed through the development of refined intuition and evolved consciousness. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about your journey into yourself and the power and unlimited potential that can be unleashed through the development of refined intuition and evolved consciousness. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. OMG, Jason, explain the unlimited potential that is unleashed through the development of refined intuition and evolved consciousness. I don't think our audience, we've really talked about it enough. Let me say it that way.
It's a big topic. So let me give an example.
Okay.
And it was interesting because we watch these old shows for mom.
Yes.
At dinner we kind of do the same we do a show in a series, so it's on Netflix.
Exactly.
And one of the shows, it's been a while, but it's called Perception. And it's about a neuroscientist who's an MD doctor, and he teaches at the college level, but he's also a paranoid schizophrenic.
Right.
And you may have remembered the show. It's a really fascinating show. But one of the things he did in the beginning of his lecture was he took a watermelon and cut it in half
with a machete,
big knife,
yes,
and said, "This represents your brain." And he said, "We just did a hemispherectomy." And apparently it's a real thing. It's a procedure to remove half the brain. And it demonstrates, but what happens is that when you do that half of the brain takes over the functions that the other half was doing.
Okay.
And so it begs the question, do you need all your brain? And he made a joke and said, well, most of the people here have half a brain anyway. So,
yeah, exactly. I knew you were going to say that. Yes.
But it speaks to the fact that we have this vast amount of unrealized potential.
Correct.
The problem is, when someone says that, they think, oh, I just need to program myself some more. I need to push and drive myself some more to access that unrealized potential.
Right.
No, that's not how it works. We see it so clearly. That unrealized potential is not in the physical. It's subtle energies that need to be removed that's blocking you and that unrealized potential. And where is it blocking you? Not physically in your brain. It's in your essence, or what some people call soul. And that's what the ecosystem approach is all about.
Right.
We're saying a human being is an ecosystem, and it includes these subtle energies. And if you don't include those, then you're not going to be able to deal with it as an ecosystem. But then you start thinking in terms of sustainability, in terms of behaviors, and you think about
go ahead,
the health of the ecosystem as opposed to being successful like a machine, or achieving goals and those types of things.
Well, and what I'm hearing from you is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in other words, to look at the whole ecosystem of yourself.
Yes.
Start with yourself. Granted, we'd much rather look at somebody else because I don't want to see all the trash that's laying around in my ecosystem. We'll say it that way. But the point that I'm getting at is that we've been taught, just do this formula, just do this process, just do this, this, and this, and everything will be okay. Get this education, do that kind of thing.
Achieve these goals.
And but you're saying, if you look at the big picture and start removing the negative energies that are blocking this area of your brain or this area of your body or that sort of thing. Women with breast cancer, oftentimes, if you look back on their history, they will say, oh, that just breaks my heart. And they take that energy and put it right next to.
You can always see something in someone's story.
Yes.
That refers back to the cancer, the type of cancer
that is exactly right. That's exactly right. And so my point is that when you start using the ecosystem approach and you look at your story, you can start to see the damage that's been done and the negative energies that person is still holding on to.
Yeah.
And that doesn't serve anybody.
Yes.
Yes.
So here's the difference
Okay.
between wild conspiracy theories
Okay.
and using refined intuition and evolved consciousness is right now, when we talk about our intuition or consciousness, without refinement, it can be arbitrary and come from negative energy.
Well, sure.
So that's where people who believe in conspiracy theories get it, because they've got this negative energy attached to them.
That's a really good point.
And they can't validate the stuff that comes at us. You know, one of the things that we see, and it's hard to measure, it's an intangible.
Okay.
We have a BS meter that is really strong.
Yes, we do.
You know, so when someone comes to us and saying, well, you know, you can get these results and blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
You know, a lot of our clients come to us and say, well, what do you think about this?
Right.
Because they want us to use our BS detector and say, okay, but everybody should have their own BS detector.
And that's a major problem, because they do have one, but they don't know how to use it.
It's standard,
programmed out.
It's standard equipment. You were born with it.
Yes.
And it's been programmed out of you. It's to me, it's such an obvious thing. Go back and get what you were born with, so you can use it.
Exactly.
So this negative energy really blocks your ability to use your intuition and even your consciousness.
Correct.
You know, when you hear voices or see angels without intuitive refinement, you are subject to illusion and delusion based on that negative energy.
That is correct.
That doesn't mean it's all wrong. It means that maybe some of it, maybe you thought this, but it's 50% of it right, but the other 50% was wrong.
Right. And oftentimes, if you don't have that refined intuition, the problem is you don't know which 50% to use or believe.
Exactly. And that's what, when we talk about refinement, that's the ecosystem approach.
Right.
We teach you how to refine your intuition and evolve your consciousness so that it's amazing. It's your ability to work with it is amazing. So when we talk to you on our show and say, this is what we see or perceive based on our intuition, it's not coming from some wild conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's coming from stuff that we see and we validate. We validate it with each other. We validate it because we've removed enough negative energy so that we know that when that negative energy is affecting us or it isn't.
Exactly. And the other thing is that one of the programming things that has happened in our world is that we've been programmed to not believe something that the intangibles, people say it must be concrete, so to speak, in order to make it true.
Yes.
And I realize that that's a form of a metaphor, but
it's also a form of cognitive blindness.
Exactly.
You know, we know this.
Done. Yes, thank you.
We know this, and if it's an intangible, it's hard to measure it. So a scientist or a left brain person will say, "Well, that doesn't make sense."
Right.
You know, but we know it does, and
exactly.
You know, men have been telling this to women for a long time because they're much more intuitive naturally.
Women.
Yes,
that's correct.
And that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
We're making a joke about that right now, but we see how much damage has been done with the training, the programming of centuries that says men are superior to women. I need to say that.
Well, of course. And when you go back to the Salem witch trials, you know, basically what we see is that those women were using energies and intuition
and things of the earth.
And it scared those men because those other women,
and they didn't know what to do with it.
They didn't know what to do with it.
So they believed, and somebody said that means that they're evil. That means they that kind of thing. And because
it was misunderstood.
Because not only that, but it was never, the right questions were never asked.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Many people already have a form of consciousness. If you're listening today, I guarantee you do.
Yes.
But because of the negative energy, it can't be trusted the way it needs to be, the way you need to use it in your personal life.
Correct.
And we've seen this so many times that many people are so-called psychic or intuitive or clairvoyant or whatever. They suffer emotional problems.
Yes.
You know, one of my favorite examples is what was that book, The Warrior, that
Oh, the Psychic Warrior.
The Psychic Warrior. They
That was
had
amazing. By
they
the
had
way,
an army program, and because I was in the army, I was fascinated by it. But he got hit in the head with a machine gun bullet,
Mhm,
and he lived, and it
mhm.
opened him up in a way that was quote unquote psychic.
But he didn't understand.
He couldn't handle it.
He
It was
didn't know how to-
unrefined. It was his consciousness was not evolved.
The
And
programming that he had before stopped him from at least going, "Oh, what does this mean?" It scared him.
They co-opted
Yes.
opted him in the military and used him and trained him to use his ability for spying.
Yes.
But then he was going crazy. He would be up all night. He was seeing visions and
Mhm.
having delusions.
And
he couldn't sleep.
Nobody knew how to help him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times being psychic is synonymous with being considered crazy.
Correct.
That's why,
Mhm.
because you don't have the evolved consciousness or refined intuition.
That is correct.
So, if you want this for yourself, if you already have intuition, if you already have a form of consciousness, it's time to go to the ecosystem approach. And all you have to do is go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for a free section, and your life's about to change. And we're going to tell you some more about how to connect with us.
So we're going to do the key points, and then we're going to tell you how to remove negative energy real fast. So Jason, key points.
Blocks to potential are not physical. They are energies that need to be removed with the ecosystem approach.
Okay.
Wild conspiracy theories can happen unless you're using refined intuition and evolved consciousness.
Right.
Many people have a form of consciousness, but because of negative energy, it can't be trusted.
Correct.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you how to unlock your unlimited potential and abilities by removing the negative energy that blocks you.
I love it. So in lieu of time, Jason, let's tell everyone how to remove negative energy.
It's this simple. You just, in your mind's eye, you can stand, your posture doesn't matter. You can stand, sit, lay down, walk, you can be moving.
Okay.
And when we say, and to eliminate, in your mind's eye, gather up what we say to eliminate in your imagination. Gather up, take a subtle breath, blow it into the processor. I know Jacob's putting the picture of the processor up right now, and it's just blow it into that. It's processed. It goes in the top, it gets processed, it comes out neutral.
Right.
It's that simple.
And by the way, you're not only helping you by removing the negative toxic energy that could create a lot of problems.
You're removing the negative energy in the earth. Yeah.
And you're really helping the entire environment around you. I love that. And we'll talk about the second half of what we're going to do by removing negative energy. So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you start to have a language to make subtle energy useful in your everyday life and to work to overcome common problems. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show, and with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you start to have a language to make subtle energy useful in your everyday life and to work to overcome common problems. And by the way, that's how we started using the ecosystem approach. It was amazing.
We actually used our intuition, and we're led, and then we removed negative energy, and then we saw some more, and then we removed negative energy, we saw some more.
It was really, it's been an amazing journey. I didn't say at times it wasn't easy.
So here we go.
Or was easy.
We're going to help you right now.
Yes.
So I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers. So I can see the reason that we can't perceive subtle energy is because it's been trained out of us. Take a breath.
And throw all that negative energy in the processor.
The barriers into the processor.
There you go. I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that programming methods dull the ability to perceive energy in all forms. Pick that up. You don't need that dullness. Pick it up. Or those barriers, throw them in the processor.
And to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress that blocks my perception of these energies.
Yes. Take a breath. Blow them out. And to eliminate the feelings of fear and hurt and shame that I have that blocks my intuitive refinement and evolved consciousness. Right now, start right now. Take a breath. Blow it out. You don't need it.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that cognitive blindness about subtle energies comes from emotional and cultural biases. Here we go. Gather up those barriers. Yep.
And throw them away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that instead of strategies and techniques to change energies indirectly, it's better to just affect the energies directly by using the ecosystem approach. By the way, it works. Take a breath. Throw away those negative energies. That, by the way, is direct.
We've had so many people say, well, I don't know if I believe that. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
They're thinking about some sort of church or whatever that says you have to believe in order for things to happen.
Right.
This energy stuff works whether you believe it or not. So
Correct.
Here we go. And to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror that my natural intuition and consciousness are polluted with bad energy.
Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that many people have consciousness, but it can't be trusted. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any resentment that I have that my intuition or gut is unreliable due to negative energy attached to me.
Take a breath. Easy. And to eliminate any resistance I have to changing my ideas about programming and its negative effect on my intuition. Just take it, pick it up, throw it away. You don't need it.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see the effects of energy work is not direct, but happens in its own time.
Correct.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the buildup of negative emotions make listening to my feelings unreliable. Take a breath. Blow it out.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that my intuition needs refinement to be really useful in everyday life.
It's true. Take a breath. Throw it away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the blocks to unlimited potential is not physical, but comes from negative energy blocks that come from programming. Take a breath, get rid of it, pick it all up, throw it all away. You don't need it. The best thing is you can have positive energy that we're going to do right now to go in there and replace all of the negative energy that we just removed. It goes like this. Follow me. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy so I can pull in that life force energy, have it go into my body, go into the places where the negative energies that we just removed were stored. And now we can use that life force energy to heal ourselves and to have an understanding of not only who we are, but the energies that we have the abilities to use to make our lives better. Take a nice breath, pull it in, let it go in and be healing, healing, healing all the way to the tips of our toes. Stop it right there. Ask ourselves right now to turn that energy around and blow out any negative energy left over. Jason?
And to activate life force so I can have hope to restore my unlimited potential by removing negative energy attached to me.
Yes, take a breath. Blow it out. And to activate life force so I can trust that using the ecosystem approach can restore my natural intuition with refinement. Wow, what a gift. Take a breath, pull it in, and then blow out any negative energy left over.
And to activate life force so I can decide to focus on removing negative energy to refine my intuition and evolve my consciousness.
I love that. Take a breath. Pull it in. And the last one for this segment, and to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy, have clarity, awareness, and objectivity, have the ability to love and like myself, love and like others, and see when negative energy isn't right, identify it, remove it, and then activate life force in its place. It is the most amazing thing that you can do. And by the way, you can do it in seconds. Take a breath, everybody. And blow out any negative energy left over. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
The Enneagram Discovery 2.0, when compulsions stop. This is, oh my gosh, this is such an important show. We've been doing this long enough so that we use the Enneagram as a personality typing system.
Correct.
And we've been using it for since the beginning.
Correct.
But what people don't understand, it's a tool that we use to help you identify the negative energy attached to you.
Right.
But as you start to remove that, it ceases to become useful.
Correct.
And a lot of the authors out there say this is the way to find who you are authentically, who you at the level of your soul.
Correct.
No, it's not.
Yes.
It was never intended to do that. It's intended to help you see the negative energy that's attached to you.
Yes, it's a great tool.
Oh my gosh. And so we're going to talk about this next week. It's an amazing show. You have to listen to the show. It's a biggie.
I just want to give one example that the compulsion of eating sugar unconsciously, that's a really good way for people to understand, to come back and listen to this show, because we're going to talk about those compulsions. And when you get rid of them, you don't need that sugar anymore.
Well, compulsions like compulsion to get angry, compulsion to feel guilty,
exactly,
compulsion to feel jealous,
and they're all connected.
Yes.
By the way. All right, Jason, did today's show touch your heart in some way?
Well, it's supposed to make a difference to you if you're listening right now and you're saying, "Oh my gosh, I want my intuition to be refined. I want to have evolved consciousness. That's me. That's who I'm. What's what I'm here to do.
That's what I know."
Here's how you do it.
Good.
Listen to our show every week.
Yes.
We talk about how to apply this in different ways every single week.
In different practical ways.
In different practical ways.
Yes.
Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section. You'll get the clearings all written out. You'll get a little backstory about the particular topic of the day, and you can do the clearings over and over and over again. And
Jason, how can I make me and the audience make the ecosystem approach a bigger part of our lives? Well,
that's it, is to listen every day, and to sign up for our free section. Go to our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org.
Exactly. And by the way, give yourself a gift, everybody, today. Just go sign up. And one more time, what's that?
Theecosystemapproach.org.
I love that. Absolutely. We'll connect next Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific time and 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.